use this method before we make our frame fittings, like our motor mounts and stuff. So
everybody, welcome back. Saturday in the shop today. We're going to work on getting our frame jig set up for our aluminum frame build. I'm going to use a stock frame I have here. It'll just make life a lot easier. We're going to set that in the fixture, make all of our additional jig parts that we need for motor mount locations and such, and then we can start figuring out fabbing up some parts to make the aluminum frame. And also,
yeah, you have to.
Yeah, there's a bunch.
yeah, no, I know that. Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna have to. You have to have a frame jig, don't you?
Well, not to do the motor mount stuff, which is what I'm going to do today.
Hold on, brother.
Right? Yeah, that's probably good.
Flat spot? Yeah.
That's probably good, right like that.
I'll get some.
Yeah, just shim.
What about going in through there, though?
I can.
Nose this over a little bit there, remove those buckets out of the way?
Yeah, that's a good, yeah. Yeah, there we go. That, yeah.
And you'll work a little bit? Yeah.
Yeah, that should be good, because you mostly are on the sides, you know, not too much.
In the back and front.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was that for?
24 hour.
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
What was that hole? What was that?
The motor mounts.
Motor, okay.
Yeah. Locating the front part of the frame.
Don't even say anything. I know what you were getting ready. I know you were getting. I know what you were getting ready to say. If I was here,
You'd
I
know.
would have noticed.
Yeah.
I saw the wheels turn, bitch. In 20 years, I'll still be getting kicked in the nuts for that.
Probably. You went home and slept. And I still included you in the post yesterday.
Oh, I didn't see it.
You didn't?
No.
Oh.
So when I set those tabs right underneath on the frame.
Oh, thank you.
All aluminum? You know, if he does that, if he comes and welds this, you have some type of rotisserie you can put it on? Oh, that's right, it is. So he could weld it on. He could weld it on this.
Again, if you were here all night, you would have sold that.
Sweet. I just forgot that he did that. I'll be 62 tomorrow, so I just forgot that he did that.
My cabinet.
So it looks like some kind of tool.
Yeah, it's a transfer punch.
Okay.
You using this tail, factory tail?
Yeah, yeah.
Sounds like somebody's here.
Might be Juan. Oh, Joe. All right, guys. So we got the frame in the jig here. We're gonna start locating our motor mounts. So first thing I gotta do is get the frame, make sure it's centered on the fixture. All right, once we got that squared up, we're gonna take our little piece of angle we got here and we'll situate this like here. We'll mark it, drill our hole, and then we're gonna have to cut a spacer, which we'll make to fit this together, and then we can bolt the frame here. We'll tack weld it to here. We'll do the same on this side, and then we'll do one for this rear motor mount. So that'll give us our rear and our front lower motor mount fixtured in place to the stock frame, and then we know if we put those 4 mounts onto our new frame, we've got our motor sitting in the frame square to the neck just like it was factory. And then we can do our other motor mounts, our upper fronts and upper rears at any time once we sit the motor in there. So that's how I like to do this. I'm sure other people have different ways they do different types of things. Then also while we're in the fixture here, we will find a swing arm, get a swing arm in here and locate in the back of the frame, but that'll come after we get these motor mounts situated. All right, now we got our piece drilled, laid in here. We're gonna measure for our spacer.
The daytime sucks, the nighttime's busy. Really, this is not what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be daytime, nighttime.
So it looks like we got 1" 650. We'll jump over on the lathe, cut a spacer, then come back and get this thing bolted in. All right, we got our first piece done, bolted to the frame. We'll get our second piece and then we'll get this tacked together. All right, so the factory frame on this other side has a removable motor mount. Makes it easier to get the motor in and out of the frame. So I'm gonna go ahead and install this one to use it as our locator. When we do the new frame, I may or may not leave this as removable, depending on how high the backbone goes. You know, obviously we're gonna be a different setup here. So we may have enough room to get the motor in and out. That just, I guess we'll kind of wait until we see how our design ends up as far as how high we raise the neck and stuff like that. So, but for now, this will do what we need it to do. Alright, so one thing that sucks about having a large shop is a lot of running back and forth to all the different places, bolts, all that stuff. So when you get the wrong bolt to start, you gotta go back and get another one. Kind of a pain in the ass, but anyway. So we got those 2 pieces made up and located. Now we just need to come up with something for the rear motor mount here. I'm going to move the camera around in a second and show you guys what that looks like so you get an idea. And I'm going to figure out what I want to do. I think I'm going to just cut a couple pieces on the plasma table that will weld here and just kind of curve, you know, up and over back there. We'll weld that up, a little brace. So here is the lower rear motor mounts in the frame. They are a little bit offset in the frame also. That's just due to the fact that the chain comes on this side. So anyway, we are going to make a little bracket, I think just come over and down, measure that up. Looks like if we come over 2 inches and let's see, actually let's do it from the hole center, will make more sense. So go from the center of the hole 2 inches, and then up to the center of the hole is 3 1/8. So 2 inches by 3 1/8. We'll make a couple of those. This back one I think is going to require a spacer because it's offset from the rail of the frame jig, but not too big of a deal there. We'll jump over to the plasma, blast those out, and then come back and get those bolted in. All right, so we got our little brackets blasted out. All right, so we got those in. That's going to work perfect. I think I'm going to make one little strip just to tie these together for a little extra bracing. So 5 3/8. I'll cut that out. Then we'll come back and tack this all in. All right, so we got all our pieces. We're going to go ahead and get these burned on. Nice rigid setup, holding everything in place, and we'll be able to use that to relocate all of our motor mounts when we start to build the new frame. Alright, so last thing I got to do is figure out how long the stock swing arm on these things is. I think I have one here somewhere. I got to try and see if I can dig it up. We're not going to make this stock length. We'll end up stretching it a little bit longer than the stock in the rear. But I want to figure out what the length is, and then I know where I want to set our rear axle fixture. And once we do that, we'll be able to pull this stock frame out and begin looking at building our new frame. Alright, so I couldn't find our swing arm, but what I did was I measured the dimensions on Tom's rigid frame Evo, because that's got really the dimensions we like. And I'm just going to use that to set our stuff. Which puts our rear axle fixture really right where we want. So I'll just tighten that back up. It's in the spot we want, about 53 inches from the center of the neck to the center of the axle. And we'll have to set our up and down. I don't have a rear tire yet. I got to get a rear tire so we can figure out our rear axle height. And then also the width will determine on the width of our wheel hub, which I have to measure. But our front to back is good, so we'll tighten that down, and we'll be able to get this frame out of here.
I see only one thing that's a little bit different, so there is a top and bottom on this, right?
Yes.
Because that's the only difference in the...
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, the big side goes on the bottom on that, but on Harleys they're universal.
Okay.
So.
I was just looking at what's different on either side to see what...
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're done with the frame?
Yeah. I mean, I'll leave it laid here so that we have it, you know, for reference and stuff, you know, but... Got our...
It's cool you're using that tail section.
Yeah. All right, we got our neck that we made a couple of weeks ago here. And then now we got to run back up front, measure our front end, and then we can get our height set on that. based off where we want our neck to be in relation to our front end. So I'm gonna hop inside. All we're gonna do is lean the front end like I did last week, last week I think. We'll take a tape measurement from the front end where the neck will be and figure out our angle, and then we can come back and set this up. All right, so our front end calculations we made, we want the bottom of the neck is 28.5 inches. So then we're gonna minus 3.5 inches, and we want the bottom of our neck at 25. So right here, we need to go up about 3 inches, and then we're also gonna adjust the rake to 31 degrees, which is what we decided on for our rake, to have the look we want and the proper trail, which I'll show you guys here in a minute. A really good online trail calculator. I use it all the time. It's completely free. So I'm going to show you a little footage of how we did that calculation. By moving this to 25, that's going to give us about 3.5 inches of ground clearance, which is what I want. It's a nice, real low bike, but should still be plenty of ground clearance. There we go, that's 31 degrees. So we'll tighten everything up. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to double check my height measurement. Look for my 25 inches to the bottom of the neck. And now that we raked it, I'm a little bit too low. So we'll bump that up. Alright, we're looking good. And tighten all this down. There we go. Got our 31 degrees of rake, 25 inches of neck height. We got our motor mount fixtures in place, and we're ready to start looking at making some parts.
Alright guys, so just real quick here. Decided to use this method before we make our frame fittings, like our motor mounts and stuff. So jumped here into the CAD program. Not going to show you how I did this because I am absolutely no expert in these CAD designs. So it takes me quite a while fumbling around, but this is going to be our left lower motor mount. And what I'll do is 3D print these first so that once we get the frame rails fit, we can test fit, make sure everything looks good. And then if we're happy with it, we'll go ahead and actually make some out of aluminum. Also, we can pull this up here. This is going to be our rear. Here we go, rear mount. Same kind of deal here. The billet one piece. That will machine out of a chunk of aluminum on the manual machine, but this is just going to let me 3D print some stuff and give me a little bit of an idea of if I'm headed in the right directions on our designs. All right, guys, last thing I want to show you guys. I use this RB Racing online rake and trail calculator whenever I'm doing frame design stuff. It's super handy. You just enter all your dimensions. So like we have 26.5 on our front tire height. We're going 31 degrees of rake. Our triple clamp offset we measured up is 3.375 or 3 3/8 of an inch. The fork length doesn't matter unless you have rake trees, so I just put 22 or whatever. Our triple 3 degree rake on this particular setup is 0. And boom, you hit calculate, and we got 4.02 inches of trail, which is like a perfect number. That's like between sport bikes and FXR. So really should be a really nice handling frame when we get it all done. All right, guys, that's a wrap for today. Pretty happy with the progress. We've got our jig all set. We got our neck in place, and starting to look at designing some motor mount pieces and parts. So real happy with that. Not sure when we'll get to actually starting to make the frame.
But we'll see how it goes here in the next few weeks and see what we can get done. So, as always, appreciate you guys being here, and hope to see you again at Gaddy's Garage.